AEW live recap of Friday Night Smackdown for February the 26th, 2021. We are now fully on the road to WrestleMania. We have been for a while, but we're even closer now after Elimination Chamber. We have the Universal Championship match set for WrestleMania. And also on this show, Bianca Belair made her decision about WrestleMania. I'll be talking about that in just a little bit. Shout out to the chat room, everybody watching this live. Thank you for watching. And thank you to everybody watching this on demand as well. Quick reminder, if you like this video, make sure you subscribe and turn on the notification bell for updates. We kicked off SmackDown, the post-Elimination Chamber edition, with a recap from the Chamber pay-per-view. Roman Reigns came out for a promo. We had the usual piped-in, "You suck" chants. He talked about how SmackDown needs him and the Chamber pay-per-view needed him. And he showed up. He smashed Daniel Bryan. He did what the head of the table does. But then, just when things were going perfect, Edge had to show up and spear Reigns. He said that he is going to give Edge a chance to back out of the WrestleMania match. He appreciates Edge's legacy. However, he does not want to hurt him. This led to Daniel Bryan coming to the ring, and he was very sarcastic, saying that Reigns deserves to be celebrated, damn near perfection. However, there are others that thought what Reigns did was cowardly. And Bryan said that there were people, not necessarily him, saying that wouldn't the head of the table be in the main event spot, not the second match of the evening? Maybe that was done, and this is according to other people, not Bryan. Maybe it was done because it would have given Bryan too much time to be ready for Reigns and recover from the Chamber match. Bryan basically said to clear any doubt that Reigns is the head of the table, Bryan proposed one more match. One-on-one for the championship. No qualifying matches, just the two of them at the Fastlane pay-per-view. Jey Uso grabbed the mic, said that Daniel Bryan is making excuses. It's time for Bryan to get to the back of the line. And Bryan said he wasn't talking to Jey, he was talking to Reigns. And Reigns just questioned Bryan, does he really want to get hurt again? And that's when Jey Uso jumped Daniel Bryan, threw Bryan over the barricade, and then backstage, Reigns instructed Jey Uso to handle things. We also had Edge backstage with Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville. Pearce had talked about how there was a planned tag team match. Edge wanted to know what was up, and basically what was up was it was going to be Daniel Bryan versus Jey Uso in a singles match, and if Bryan was able to defeat Jey Uso, he would get an opportunity at the Fastlane pay-per-view. I really enjoyed the opening of the show. I liked the follow-up with Daniel Bryan. You had Edge coming into the picture. You're setting up Fastlane, keeping people guessing what's going to happen. Nice, strong opening to the show. We had our first match of the evening, which was Rey and Dominic Mysterio against the Alpha Academy. And Chad Gable had footage shown from last week when they beat the Mysterios. I'm usually not a fan of back-to-back matches, but in this case, this was good. I liked the fact also that it was not 50-50 booking. So basically, Otis was acting more heelish. He was more aggressive. Gable was still giving him instructions. And at one point, Gable had to even get Otis to settle down a little bit. You had Rey and Dominic hit a double 619 to Gable, and then Rey hit the big splash, but Otis made the save, tagged in, power slammed Mysterio, and then did his new finisher, the splash off the second ropes, and pinned Rey Mysterio. Again, if you're going to do a rematch, I liked the fact that it wasn't 50-50. And yeah, Otis and Gable, Alpha Academy, they're building up some momentum. Otis as a heel, we'll see if this is the start of a new beginning for him. Only time will tell. Or will he go back to being babyface at some point? Who knows? We had Apollo, who also recently turned heel. He showed up with brand new gear. He had a scarf on, and a recap was shown of the attack on Big E from last week. And he said that people don't know the real Apollo. He said that he has been nice and humble for far too long, and he hasn't been shown any respect. And then he brought up his background. He talked about how he's from Nigeria. He's a real African American. He said that his ancestors, they were Nigerian royalty. He talked about the colors that represented wealth, dominance, power. He said he went back to his roots, and Big E found that out last week and will never disrespect Apollo again. And he said that Nakamura would suffer the same fate in their match. Nakamura came out, we had the match. Regarding the promo, great first heel promo here from Apollo. Best promo of his career. And I think there's only room to grow with Apollo in the coming weeks. Like I said last week, long overdue. Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat says, I thought the accent was over the top. See, I disagree. I like it because it kind of adds to the cockiness of the character and him being a heel now. Remember when Booker T would talk in the accent and be all over the top? And I think it worked for Booker T, and I think it can work for Apollo as well. I liked it. We had this match, and Cruz attacked Nakamura as Nakamura was doing his taunts in the ring before the match got going. And he wanted to use the steel steps, but the referee managed to talk him out of it. After the commercial break, it went back and forth for a while. Nakamura made a comeback, and then Apollo went to the outside of the ring. They got back in the ring, and then Apollo used his scarf, which was in the corner, for momentum, causing Nakamura to go into the turnbuckle, and then Apollo hit the angle slam, which I'm not sure if there's a new name for it yet, but it's like a modified angle slam. Really good stuff here. I feel bad for Nakamura after that gauntlet match several weeks ago. All the momentum that he had is kind of fizzling out. But the plus side is Apollo picked up a big win here, and we'll see if it's going to be saved for WrestleMania. They could do it at Fastlane, but yeah, I'm all for Apollo versus Big E at WrestleMania if they slowly build up towards it. Really good stuff here with Apollo. So far, so good. Although not everybody in the chat room is sold on it. Tic Tat Tat said not a fan of Apollo. And Jose Garza said, I'd rather his finisher be the angle slam rather than the lame powerbomb. I like the modified angle slam. I thought it looked really good, and I hope he keeps doing it. We had Paul Heyman backstage with Roman Reigns talking about the tag match being scrapped, and Heyman assured Reigns that Bryan will only get the title match if he can beat Jey Uso. The key word being if. We had Tamina versus Liv Morgan. No entrances for either of them. Kind of just a filler match here. You had Natalya and Ruby Riott on the outside. Tamina picked up a clean win over Liv Morgan. So push number 530 for Tamina. Which, people could say, hey, Apollo's gotten a whole bunch of start and stop pushes. But at least with Apollo, they've really changed things up with him. Tamina is just the same old Tamina. So this really did nothing to me. And now it feels like Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott have no real direction. I actually thought this was the weakest segment of the show. We then had Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville introducing Bianca Belair. And she came to the ring. They had the piped EST chants. Video packages were shown of Asuka and Sasha Banks, and Bianca talked about how important this decision is and talked about advice that her mother gave her about making choices. Reginald interrupted, I should say, the festivities and said if Bianca faces Sasha, her dream will turn into a nightmare and she'll be nothing but a loser. This led to Sasha coming down to the ring saying, once again, Reginald should not be speaking for her, and said to Bianca that she's the best, and Bianca, as a result, is the second best. Bianca did not appreciate this and officially accepted or challenged Sasha Banks for WrestleMania. No real surprise here. Sasha and Bianca, to me, is the match to go with. I just wish they would have done maybe a little bit more to tease a potential match with Asuka, just to elevate Asuka a little bit in the Raw title. And what about Io Shirai? There was no video package for Io Shirai, and at least Edge went to NXT and teased maybe. I mean, we all knew it wasn't going to happen, but at least Edge put over Balor and Pete Dunne, and nothing here for Io Shirai. So I would have done this whole setup a little bit differently. And like I said on the recap of Elimination Chamber, I would have not done the whole Reginald thing. Although maybe at some point Reginald was going to end up with Sasha Banks. I guess we'll have to wait and see. And that'll be part of Sasha's heel turn. But yeah, I think I would have got to this point a little bit different. But at least we're getting it. Looking forward to the match. And we'll see if they're able to have an all-time WrestleMania Classic. A lot of people are really hoping that they can put on an all-time WrestleMania Classic. Maybe have the best women's match in WrestleMania history. Moving on here, we had the Street Profits versus King Corbin and Sami Zayn. And before the match, Corbin and Zayn were chatting backstage. And Zayn said that it was his idea for them to team up and felt like they actually have chemistry, and if they worked together, they could easily beat the Street Profits. They could maybe be the new Can-Am Connection, which Corbin did not find very amusing. And Corbin was like, whatever. He just told Zayn to not tell him what to do. And we had our tag team match here. The Dirty Dogs were watching the match. Zayn's crew ended up getting involved, well, not intentionally, but they got in Corbin's way. Not once, but twice. And the second time, he shoved one of the guys down. Zayn got distracted, and Ford did this dive over Zayn to the outside onto Corbin, which actually was very similar to what we saw on Dynamite this past week with a dive over somebody. We saw Phoenix doing the dive over Jake Roberts onto Lance Archer. So would have been cooler if we didn't already see it on Dynamite. And then we had Ford tag in, and he hit the big splash to pin Sami Zayn. And there you go. Street Profits building their momentum. I'm guessing they'll be facing the Dirty Dogs either at WrestleMania or Fastlane, I should say. Either Fastlane or WrestleMania. Psycho Jet Black with another $2 super chat. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Says, do you think Baron Corbin could ever turn face? He could, but he'd probably bomb as a face. But I guess I shouldn't knock it until I actually see it happen. You could try, maybe to freshen him up, but not sure if there's much hope for King Corbin. When he asked to spend his day going on Instagram and responding to no DQ posts, seems like he doesn't really have anything else better to do. Maybe he should take more time and focus on his character instead of playing this king character that has long since run its course. Moving on here, we had Daniel Bryan interviewed backstage, and he said that he thinks his chances of beating Reigns are better than Edge's chances. And he said that, to be perfectly honest, Edge has taken a lot of time off. Edge then approached Daniel Bryan and asked Bryan who would win if the two of them fought at WrestleMania. And Bryan said he'll just keep it to himself. And then they parted ways. We then had Seth Rollins come to the ring for a promo, and he talked about how his complaint, his formal complaint, got a huge response on social media. Cesaro quickly interrupted Rollins' promo, and Rollins just asked Cesaro to hear him out. Cesaro wanted to fight, and Rollins was trying to calm him down. Rollins said that Twitter blew what he said out of proportion. He wants to make things right. And he said that Cesaro is a star. Who says Cesaro cannot grab that brass ring? A little reference to that Vince McMahon interview from the Stone Cold podcast all those years ago. And Rollins said that Cesaro, he comes up short all the time. Why is that? Rollins said it's because Cesaro does not have the killer instinct like he does. Rollins said if they work together, they could be unstoppable, and Rollins can give Cesaro that missing ingredient, that killer instinct. And Cesaro, he was considering it, and Rollins said that if Cesaro had not turned away from him in the first place, Cesaro would have won the chamber, would have beaten Reigns, and all Cesaro needs to do is embrace the vision. Take some time to think about it, but then Cesaro quickly made his decision. He took Rollins down, hit the big swing, did it a second time, and Rollins was selling this like crazy, yelling into the mic, and his jacket flew off. I thought this was great. I love Rollins' selling. And I am fully on board with Rollins versus Cesaro at WrestleMania. I think that's where they're going. Maybe we get a match at Fastlane, setting up a rematch at WrestleMania, but I want to see Cesaro and Rollins at WrestleMania. I am very much invested in that. Really good segment here with these guys. I very much enjoyed it. And then we had our main event of the evening, and Amanda says that swing was long. Yeah, that was a long one. And I'm hoping if they do the match at WrestleMania, Cesaro can try and do the longest swing of all time onto Rollins. That would be pretty epic. So we had Daniel Bryan versus Jey Uso. If Bryan was able to beat Jey, he would get one more title match against Reigns at Fastlane. Jey went after Bryan's knee during the match, sent him knee first into the ring post. Bryan was able to make a comeback but kept selling the knee. Uso continued to go after it. Bryan made a comeback, and then he got the yes lock on, but Uso was able to grab the rope, get to the outside of the ring, and they were fighting on the outside. Uso sent Bryan knee first into the steps, and then in a surprising finish, we got a double count out. No Bryan winning. When this match was announced, I thought we were going to have, Kevin Owens come out and cost Jey the match, but no Kevin Owens. We had a double count out. We had Bryan put the yes lock on Jey after the match, but then Roman showed up, attacked Bryan, and Bryan managed to fight back, get the yes lock on Reigns, but then Jey came in with a super kick. Reigns hit a spear to Bryan and then put the guillotine on. And that was the end of SmackDown. So no Kevin Owens, and at least for now, no Daniel Bryan title match. Now, of course, that could all change, and next week Bryan gets his title match. The Cleaver, Colin Andrews, sent in a $5 super chat, says, could we see Edge and Bryan versus Jey Uso and Roman Reigns at Fastlane? We could, but after teasing Bryan getting one more title match, I think they got to do the title match to tease the idea that Bryan might get his WrestleMania spot. Here's what I would do. This is what I would do. and this is what I thought was going to happen. I thought Kevin Owens was going to cost Jay the match, and Kevin Owens could still show up next week. They still got 3 weeks left. But what I would do is Kevin Owens is in Bryan's corner to counteract Jay at Fastlane, and WWE could even tease, can Bryan really trust KO? Like, is KO going to be there for Bryan, or is KO deep down jealous that Bryan's getting this opportunity at WrestleMania? And then at Fastlane, you have the match. Kevin Owens is successful in keeping Jay out of the match and able to even the odds. And that's when Jimmy shows up and costs Bryan the match. WrestleMania, Daniel Bryan teaming up with Kevin Owens against the Usos. That's my fantasy booking. That's what I would do at this point. Bryan and Owens versus the Usos. Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat says, will Roman Reigns hold the title until WrestleMania 38? Right now, I'm going to say no because it's just so long. And I'm feeling we're going to have a scenario where Edge wins the title for the feel-good moment. Might not necessarily be at WrestleMania, but I'm thinking it. I'm thinking Edge is going to win the title. It might not be a long reign, pun intended, I guess. Reigns could possibly win the title back after a month. Brandon in the chat room says Jimmy might return to make it a 6-man tag team match. Yeah, that could happen too. Maybe Bryan gets his title match next week. Jimmy returns then. And then at Fastlane, you have a 6-man match. But I feel like doing the title match at Fastlane keeps things a little, not a lot, but a little unpredictable and keeping people guessing, well, maybe Bryan will somehow win the title and it's a 3-way. Like, you know, keep the fantasy booking open until after Fastlane. If you just do a tag match or a 6-man match at Fastlane, you already know that Reigns is fighting Edge at WrestleMania. So it basically just becomes filler. I would prefer a singles match for the title, Bryan with one last chance before WrestleMania to get the championship. And Jose says if it's a tag team match, Edge could get the pinfall victory at Fastlane and then lose to Reigns at WrestleMania. That's possible, or maybe the opposite. Maybe Reigns could beat Edge and then Edge gets his win back at WrestleMania. That could happen as well. And people are asking, where was Carmella on this show? I guess there's a possibility she could be somehow involved in this whole storyline with Reginald getting involved, and she wants to keep him involved so she can come back at some point and get another title opportunity. Or maybe she's just lost in the shuffle. Maybe Reginald ends up managing Sasha and we never hear from Carmella again. I thought SmackDown this week was a good show. Nice show, entertaining from start to finish. Best show of the week. Better than the 2020 promotional show of the year, AEW Dynamite. Gotta go with SmackDown this week of the 3 main shows. Raw, SmackDown, and AEW. Solid B for SmackDown this week. Very good stuff with Daniel Bryan. Loving the build with Rollins and Cesaro. Like the character development with Apollo Crews. Andy Sullivan gives the show a B+. Check out his columns on NoDQ.com. The Game is on 100 with a B. MVP Kev with a B. Ace and his Familia Vlogs with an A-, Amanda with an A, and Tic Tat Tat with a C+. And Jose says, happy for the new heel characters, they need it. I agree. I'm very happy to see Reigns doing so well, and now Apollo's got momentum, and you got the Dirty Dogs, you know, not really feeling them too much, you know. That's one of the weaker areas of SmackDown, the Dirty Dogs being the tag team champions. But Street Profits, it's just a matter of time until they get the tag team titles back. I just think they should get the titles back at Fastlane. And if it's not my idea of Owens and Bryan against the Usos, I'm still all for Usos versus Street Profits. That's what I wanted to see like a month or two ago when the Street Profits were still tag team champions. But yeah, Dirty Dogs at WrestleMania. Sorry, Dolph, and sorry, Rude. I like you guys, but no. They should probably be in the Andre Battle Royal or whatever multi-man match there is. Street Profits, I think, need a bigger match for WrestleMania. Just my opinion. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, make sure you subscribe at youtube.com/AaronRiffNoDQ. Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat. Says, Dolph has been around for too long in WWE. Yeah, and he's had like more start and stop pushes than just about anybody. It's just so hard to care about Dolph right now. With all due respect to him, guy's a great athlete, very entertaining, but it's really tough when he's been booked strong and then he's booked as an opening match guy and it just keeps going back and forth. You just kind of get numb to him after a while. Mr. Dark Fantasy says, who's winning the Dre? Who even knows if there's an Andre Battle Royal? With COVID and everything, I guess, they could do it, but I'd be fine if they just brought back Money in the Bank for WrestleMania. Anyways, guys, have a great weekend. Take care. Stay positive, but not COVID positive. And I will see you guys next time.